On today's installation video, I'll be showing you how to install a RaceChip on the Chevrolet 1.5 turbo 4-cylinder. Before installing the RaceChip, please wait until your engine is cool enough to work on. Put your parking brake or emergency brake on. If your vehicle is equipped with an alarm system, please disable it. Pop the hood, roll up the windows, close the doors, and press the lock button on your key fob and move that key fob 30 feet away. You're gonna wait about 10 minutes after for all the electricity to clear from underneath the hood. Now for this installation, our A connection is going to go to our turbo boost pressure sensor down at the bottom of the intercooler. Our B connection is going to go to our manifold absolute pressure sensor in the back of the motor. And our D connections can go to our mass airflow sensor right here on the air filter. Now we're going to use a 9/32 socket to remove the plastic pan underneath the motor. There's about 20 total screws. Then we can see our A connection go into our turbo boost pressure sensor. It's right at the end of the intercooler on the driver's side. You can see it here. To unplug the OEM sensor plug, we're going to pull back on the white locking tab and press down. You can see the white locking tab also has some red markings on it here, which is easy to identify. We're then going to take the female end of the RaceChip wiring harness that I've already fed down from above and plug that directly into the OEM sensor plug. The smooth side of the RaceChip wiring harness is going to plug into the locking tab side of the OEM sensor plug like this here. Then we're going to take our RaceChip male connection and plug it directly into that OEM sensor that you can see sitting right up there. Now we'll cut to our B connection going onto our manifold absolute pressure sensor. We're going to pull back on the white locking tab and then press down, or you can use a small pick or flathead screwdriver to help remove the sensor plug. Then we're going to take our RaceChip wiring harness. We'll take the female end and plug it directly into the male end of the OEM sensor plug, lock it in place with the white locking tab. And then we'll take the male end of the RaceChip wiring harness and plug it directly into the OEM sensor and locking it in place with the locking tab. The last connection we're going to make is our D connection going to our mass airflow sensor. To do this, we're going to pull back and then press down on the red locking tab. Take the female end of the RaceChip harness and lock it in place in the OEM sensor plug. Then we'll take our male end of our connection, plug it directly into the OEM sensor and lock it in place with the red locking tab. Now with all of our connections securely made, we're going to go ahead and install the RaceChip. To do so, we're going to remove the deactivation plug by pulling on the FCI plug. Now we want to hang on to the deactivation plug. If you ever need to take the car in for any warranty or service work, you can remove the RaceChip and put the deactivation plug in place of the unit. We suggest putting this in your glove box or center console. Now we're going to install the RaceChip itself. If you have a GTS, it's important we get no LED light up on the screen, or if you have the RS or S, you get no green LED to illuminate. We don't want any power going to the device the first time we install the unit. Now we're going to install our 4 mounting tabs. The really nice thing about these mounting tabs, if you ever need to remove the RaceChip and put the deactivation plug in place, you don't actually have to cut the zip ties. Instead, you can press down on the 4 corners of the mounting tabs and actually unplug the RaceChip from the zip ties and leave them securely in place. Now you're going to use the longer of the 2 supplied zip ties to mount the RaceChip in place. You can actually go vertically or horizontally with the zip ties. But for this application, we're going to mount the 2 zip ties horizontally. Now when mounting the RaceChip, it's really important that we stay away from any hot or moving parts, and we put the unit someplace that's hard for moisture to get. So for this application, we found a great spot right here in the front of the car. You can see a lot of the OEM electronics are right here, so this is a good spot and there's not going to be very much moisture getting to this location. Now we'll zip tie everything in place and making sure we're not zip tying too tight to pinch off any of the electrical lines. Then we're going to use the smaller of the supplied zip ties to mount the RaceChip wiring harness away from hot and moving parts. Just like the RaceChip unit, if we're going to zip tie to any electrical or fluid lines, we don't want to zip tie too tight.
RaceChip, simply faster.